Of all the 1,200 innocent victims of October 7, it was the kibbutzim near the border of Gaza which bore the brunt of the massacre. As I've been saying, entire families murdered. The only Australian victim that day, Galit Carbone, and she fought a desperate but ultimately hopeless battle to survive. I spoke to her brother, Danny Majzner, at kibbutz Be'eri, where so many lost their lives. And a warning, this interview, it's a must-watch, it's powerful, it's also confronting.
The rockets came down really heavily. That a friend of mine saw from his house all the Hamas guys on their bikes and their pickup trucks, and that was about 6:30. From the road that's surrounding the kibbutz, they came from the strip. They murdered the guy that's really in charge of the security on the kibbutz. He came, he didn't know anything what happened, and they just shot him, and that was it.
Many families called this kibbutz home. 1,100 people lived here before October 7, including your sister Galit.
Sure.
How many were killed a year ago?
It's 102 people from our community. That's nearly 10%. As you can see on the banner here on the side, we still have hopefully 3 hostages, kidnapped people that's still alive, and 7 bodies that need to be returned for permanent burial that we know that they're dead. So it's something really unthinkable.
So they climbed the gates. How did they physically get in?
They broke in this window and they pressed the electricity gate and they opened it and they just stormed inside. They just came in numbers, more and more and more.
Should we go inside and show us what happened?
Yes, indeed.
So Danny, your sister Galit was here in her home on the morning of October 7 when Hamas came inside her house. What happened?
From what I know, she rang me at 12 p.m. and telling me that she hears them inside the house and she's not sure if she locked the door or didn't lock the door, as if it really matters. And I told her, okay, let's whisper. Let's not them hear that, let them know that someone's there.
She was in her safe room.
She was in a safety room, of course. She was holding the handle, and you know, it's either who's going to bend first, you know.
She didn't stand a chance.
Nah, not one chance. My father was overseas. He's a 91-year-old. He was a 90 at the time-year-old Holocaust survivor from France, and I had to tell him that his daughter was murdered on the kibbutz by yeah, it was certainly and definitely the hardest thing I had to do in my life.
You both grew up in Australia?
Yeah, we grew up till she was 11, I was 7 when we left Sydney to come to this kibbutz Be'eri.
So the rest of her life was really based in this kibbutz. She had
Everything.
Her children here.
Yeah, she had her kids here, and her life was here, really. She had a very comfortable life. She has 3 kids, 6 grandkids, and she loved them all.
Did the terrorists come to your house, or they
just moved underneath? They burned a few houses next to me. They murdered a few people next to me. I live on the 2nd floor, so hopefully that's what saved me, I'd say. When
the army evacuated you and you would have walked through the kibbutz, it just must have looked like a bloody
something
graveyard.
Apocalyptic, yeah. It was a graveyard. Everything was burnt. And it was just, and I was sort of like, as a sort of speak, tall guy. The soldiers told the kids behind me, look forward, straight ahead of him, don't look sideways.
All the families who lived here were defenseless. They had no one to protect them.
Absolutely.
The Foreign Minister, Penny Wong, refused to come here. She refused to see firsthand what had happened. She did visit Israel, but she refused to come to the kibbutzim. What's your reaction to that?
Well, that's really a mind blower, Sharri, because one would think, okay, you made a trip half around the world, you circled the globe, you got to Israel, and when you are asked, why didn't you come down to Be'eri, or why didn't you contact any one of your civilians that live overseas, the only thing you could say, oh, I had to meet Mr. Danny Danon at Yad Vashem, I didn't have time. I mean, seriously, you're the foreign minister of a big country called Australia. You come over to Israel. You've got one citizen that was murdered. I think it's the only Australian citizen
yes, true.
on the attack. Please make a little effort. I'm not saying much. Contact us, contact her kids. Come and see what happened firsthand, you know.
So this is typical of what happened to so many homes on October 7.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. This is a house of Vivian Silva, a Jewish Canadian that moved from Canada to Israel many years ago. She retired, and she dedicated her life to help the poor Palestinians living in Gaza regarding their health condition. And unfortunately, she found her death in her house. She was burnt, and it took a while to identify via DNA.
She was in her safe room, but they burnt down the house.
They burnt everything, and it took a while to really understand that it's her. And that just shows that they killed and murdered everyone.
So this is a safe room. There was a family here, 2 children. I mean, there's hundreds of bullet holes around the room.
Mm-hmm. This is a typical safety room like we all have. It's a 9 square meter. And everyone was supposed to go in the safety rooms and close or lock the door behind. So did this family, my friend Davida and his wife Dana and 2 kids, Carmel and Hadar. And they went in here, and about an hour after, the terrorists got to this place, and they had to hold between Carmel and Avida, they held the handle.
There's no lock, so they were holding it shut.
They were holding it one way while they're trying the other way. And then he told them, go away in Arabic. There's only kids here. And obviously they didn't. And they realized that if the handle is here, someone's standing in front of them, they start shooting. Carmel was shot in the shoulder. Avida was shot both legs. And Dana was sitting here, the wife, the mother, and she got hurt through a rib cage, a very small and tiny hole, which she didn't even see any blood, but she started to gasp for air, and afterwards that was it. She bled internally.
She bled to death, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Her and one of her children.
And one of the sons, Carmel, which he was supposed to be in Sri Lanka for surfing, was a surfer, and one of the last things he said to his dad, "Dad, bury me with my surfboard," which he did. We did last week.
Such a heartbreaking story, and walking through that kibbutz, of course, was really quite emotional.